Good morning. Today we're going to talk about Act 1, Scene 3 of Fences. So if you could get your books open to page 29, that's where we're going to start. So if you look, Scene 3 opens up with Rose and Corey outside. Now, Corey's headed off to football practice, and his mom reminds him that he has some chores that he needs to fulfill before he leaves, and that his dad's not going to be happy with him if he chooses to shirk those responsibilities. But Corey also points out some of Troy's hypocrisy here when he says that, Troy's been saying that he wants to work on this fence that they're supposed to be building for the last 4 or 5 Saturdays, and then he doesn't want to do anything. Instead, he actually goes down to Taylor's, and drops the whole chore business. So here we've got, Troy's all about preaching hard work and commitment and, doing your responsibilities, but yet here he is doing the exact same thing. So there's the hypocrisy of it. Notice that when Troy does arrive on the scene, he's coming back from Taylor's, and he almost sort of forgets the reason why he was gone, because Rose asked him about the score of the game, and he says, "What do I care about a game?" And she said, "I thought you went over to Taylor's to watch it." And he kind of tries to distract her by kissing her and whatnot. So anyway, he almost forgets that lie. Moving forward, we also want to talk about kind of the conversation between Corey and his father, Troy. As they're beginning chores or beginning to work on the fence, Corey asks his father why they don't have a TV. And his father brings up, the fact that a TV is more so a want and not a need. He brings up that the roof would need fixed, and that's more of an expense that he'd rather put his money toward that than buying a TV. That's something that you have to have. And you kind of understand that on Troy's part, that you have to take care of those things. But it's really how he goes about it, I think is maybe the wrong way. So, again, Troy gives his son this sort of lecture about responsibilities with money and just taking care of his family. So when Corey does shift the conversation to what he believes is a more pleasant topic, baseball, we get a whole other argument that sort of erupts. Troy starts talking about a lot of the struggles that African-American males are facing regarding playing on major league teams. So this is his belief that they're still facing these issues. He says that the color guy's got to be twice as good before he gets on the team, and that even when they do accept African-Americans, they don't actually use them, so it's basically not having them on the team at all, and that everyone's the same. But that's not really true, and Corey sort of debunks this argument by giving examples such as Hank Aaron and Wes Covington, how they're playing on major league teams, and that Hank Aaron gets a lot of playing time. In fact, he's just recently hit a few more home runs, which brings him up to his total of 43. So, obviously you have to have playing time to do that. He's not just sitting on the bench. But, even though Troy has this information and he's proven wrong, he doesn't want to acknowledge it and actually just dismisses Hank Aaron as being this sort of nobody. But if you look up anything about Hank Aaron, you see that he eventually ends up breaking Babe Ruth's record. So he's very far from a nobody. And this is just how, Troy handles being wrong. Another example of Troy's exaggeration and his kind of like larger than life sort of appearance is when he claims that he can hit 43 home runs right now in his older age. Remember, he's 50-some years old. We know this is not possible, and his son doesn't believe that either. So the conversation actually ends up shifting from baseball into football, and we see that, Troy officially shoots down the football idea for Corey and won't sign the papers for the scholarship. And his argument is that the white man ain't going to let him get anywhere with that football. And, he believes that the book learning will allow him to work his way up at the job that he's currently in, which is, Corey's working at the A&P, or Corey could fix cars or build houses or something like that. He believes that his son would do better in the trades and claims that, getting a trade like that would prevent people from taking it away from him. He also says he doesn't want his son to end up like he is, probably being disappointed with sports, probably end up hauling trash. And this really upsets Corey, and he tries to make his dad see that football is only a small part of the opportunity that he would get at college. He's not just playing to play, he's playing while he's getting an education, but once again, his dad refuses to hear that. It's not something that he understands, so therefore he sort of dismisses it. So moving forward here, I gotta kind of move, I lost my notes. Again, when he doesn't want to hear it, this is reflected on page 36 when he says, I do the only thing that counts. You know, I don't want to listen to anybody else. I'm right. And then eventually tells his son that he has to choose working over his high school football career, and says, well, you got to take the crookeds with the straights. This is actually another baseball reference, because the crookeds are kind of referring to, you know, harder, tough times. A crooked in baseball or a curveball is harder to hit. You know, it's tough. It's same thing with life. You have to take the goods with the bads. And then, you know, finally we get to another really important thing with Corey asking his father, you know, how come you ain't never liked me? And this is huge. I've got to get to my notes here. You know, Troy's response to this highlights, you know, the incredibly sad view that he has on fatherhood. This is on page 37. His response was, liked you? Who the hell say I gotta like you? What law is there to say that I've gotta like you? You know, you want to stand up to my face and ask me this sort of foolish question? You know, and he goes on to say, you know, I go out here every morning, I bust my butt, I put up with the crackers every day because I like you? No, because it's my job, it's my responsibility. Do you understand that? A man's got to take care of his family. You know, you live in my house, you sleep on my bed, you fill your belly up with my food because you're my son. You know, you're my flesh and blood. It's not because I like you, it's because you're my responsibility. So that's really all that it is, according to Troy. He even goes as far as to equate his relationship with his son to his relationship with his boss. It's almost kind of like a business. You know, Mr. Rand don't give me my money come payday because he likes me. He gives me because he owes me. So he owes his son that. And while he's not wrong to assume this responsibility of caring for his son, there's much more to being a father. And I'll get to that in just a minute. So another thing that he tries to tell his son also is that, you know, don't you try to go through life worrying about whether or not somebody likes you. Just make sure that they're doing right by you. So again, while Troy is right to say that the man has a responsibility of taking care of his family, and you can't always worry about people liking you. A family needs love and affection, things that Troy has a hard time showing. So we can see here that there is a fence that's been created between the father and son, probably because, you know, Corey's lacking that affection that he needs, and approval that he needs from his father, and of course, you know, the whole scholarship thing. So we also see more of Troy's point of view and the way he feels. That's revealed in his conversation with his wife Rose after his son has left. He says several things. He says, I don't want him to be like me. You know, I want him to move as far away from my life as he can get. You know, you're the only decent thing that happened to me. This is in reference to his marriage to Rose. He says, I want that for him, but I don't wish him anything else from my life. And then he also says, I decided 17 years ago that this boy wasn't getting involved in any sports, you know, not after what they did to me. And he also finally says, I've got sense enough not to let my boy get hurt over playing sports. So in Troy's mind, he believes that he is saving him from the heartache and disappointment that he faced when trying to make it big in baseball. You know, he faced several fences in his experience with that. You know, again, he's facing racial fences, he's facing age fences because he was older, you know, that sort of thing. At the end of this scene, it can be seen that Troy does love and care for his son. He just has a hard and funny way of showing it. He believes he's doing the right thing by teaching Corey that no one's going to hold his hand in life. But Corey gets the message that his dad doesn't support him or have his back. You know, Troy, in his mind, believes that he's trying to prevent his son from getting hurt, but his failure to acknowledge the changes in society hurts Corey, and it holds him back from actually achieving his dreams, which are very possible. So anyway, that's how we conclude Act 1, Scene 3 of Fences. So next time we will go over Scene 4, and as always, email me if you have questions. See ya.